Wasn't there some speculation that she was on Epstein's yacht at one point in time? There was like photos with her and Prince Andrew way back in the day when she was like in her early 20s.
For years, rumors have trailed the Sussexes, but one unexpected name has reignited the fire. When Elon Musk hinted at unreleased yacht photos tied to Prince Andrew, shockwaves rippled across royal watchers, and Meghan Markle's silence spoke volumes. So, was this a coincidence, misdirection, or a looming PR nightmare? As whispers of hidden connections, digital receipts, and high-stakes power games surface, the palace playbook seems shaken. What exactly was revealed, and why now? Behind the headlines, a story unfolds that few saw coming, as cameras keep rolling worldwide. How Meghan Markle's past keeps haunting the present. Speculation about Meghan Markle's past has a way of resurfacing just when it seems to have faded for good. This week, an old rumor has once again found new life online, pulling the Duchess of Sussex back into a familiar storm of debate, curiosity, and unresolved questions. At the center of it all is the long-circulating claim that Meghan once lived a so-called yacht girl lifestyle, a phrase loaded with suggestion, judgment, and intrigue, but very little proven fact thanks to Elon Musk's revealed photos. The renewed chatter was sparked by a resurfaced screenshot from Twitter, dated back to 2016. The image, shared years ago by an account known as Meghan's Mole, allegedly shows an invitation to a yachting event in Croatia. On the surface, the message appears harmless and informal, nothing more than a social invite common in celebrity and entertainment circles. Yet its reappearance has opened the floodgates once again, reigniting theories about Meghan's life before she entered the British royal family. For some online commentators, this single screenshot is treated as a missing puzzle piece in a larger, more sensational story. They claim it points to Meghan's involvement in elite party scenes, luxury travel, and wealthy social networks often associated, fairly or unfairly, with powerful men and secretive gatherings. Names like Prince Andrew are sometimes mentioned in whispers, not because of direct proof, but because of the public's growing sensitivity to power, privilege, and scandal among global elites. It is important to note, however, that none of these claims have been backed by solid evidence. No photos, no official records, no first-hand accounts that can be verified. What exists instead is a fog of speculation, built from assumptions, old screenshots, anonymous posts, and the human tendency to connect dots even when the lines between them are faint or imagined. Still, the rumors refuse to disappear, and their persistence says as much about public culture as it does about Meghan herself. Critics of the narrative argue that this renewed focus on Meghan's alleged past is not accidental. To them, it is part of a wider effort to tear down her image and question her legitimacy. They point out that Meghan's journey, from a working actress in Hollywood to a member of one of the world's most famous royal families, is unusual and, to some, unsettling. Instead of celebrating that rise, detractors attempt to rewrite her story through a scandal-driven lens, implying that ambition, success, or independence must be tied to something improper. Supporters also highlight the gendered nature of the rumor. The term yacht girl, they argue, is often used to shame women while giving men involved in similar social spaces a free pass. In their view, Meghan is being judged more harshly simply because she is a woman who moved confidently in elite circles, pursued opportunities, and did not fit the traditional mold expected of a future duchess. They see the rumor as less about truth and more about control, about punishing a woman who challenged royal norms and later chose to step away from them. On the other side of the debate are those who insist that public figures invite scrutiny, especially when they marry into institutions built on tradition and moral symbolism. They argue that Meghan's past, like that of any royal, is fair game for discussion, particularly when questions remain unanswered. To them, asking questions is not the same as spreading hate. Yet even within this group, there is often an admission that the evidence is thin and that certainty remains out of reach. What makes this story especially intriguing is not the rumor itself, but its endurance. Years have passed since Meghan became a duchess, stepped back from royal duties, and built a new life with Prince Harry in the United States. She has spoken openly about mental health, media pressure, and personal growth, and yet fragments of her pre-royal life continue to resurface, as if the internet is unwilling to let the past stay buried. In many ways, the resurfacing of these rumors reflects a larger obsession with celebrity reinvention. Society loves transformation stories, but it also resists them. When someone crosses social boundaries, moving from actress to royal, outsider to insider, there is often a backlash. The narrative becomes less about who the person is now, and more about who others insist they must have been. Ultimately, the yacht girl speculation remains exactly that. Speculation. It exists in a space where curiosity, bias, and entertainment overlap. For some, it is a reason to doubt Meghan. For others, it is proof of how relentlessly she is targeted. And for many observers, it is simply another chapter in the ongoing saga of a woman whose life, choices, and identity continue to provoke strong reactions around the world. What is clear is that the mystery persists, not just because answers are being revealed, but because the debate itself refuses to end. Is Meghan the only one affected by the revelation? How does Harry feel about Elon's latest revelations? Let's find out. A clash of influence. Prince Harry has never been shy about where he stands when it comes to truth, responsibility, and the power of words. Over the years, he has made it clear that he believes misinformation is not just a harmless mistake, but a serious threat, one that can quietly fuel anger, division, and even real-world harm. So when viewed through that lens, it is hardly surprising that he finds himself at odds with Elon Musk's approach to free speech, especially when that freedom allows false or inflammatory ideas to spread unchecked. What adds another layer of tension to this clash is Meghan Markle's growing unease about Musk's public attacks and the wider consequences they may bring. At the heart of Prince Harry's frustration is a simple but powerful concern. Accuracy matters. Words shared online do not float in a vacuum. They land on real people, shape opinions, and can influence actions in ways that are not always visible at first. In August 2024, Harry made headlines during his tour of Colombia when he appeared to direct subtle but unmistakable criticism toward Musk and his management of X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Without mentioning Musk by name, the message was clear enough for many observers to connect the dots. Harry spoke about the responsibility that comes with influence, especially in the digital age. He stressed that in an ideal world, those who hold powerful platforms should act with greater care and accountability. When they fail to do so, he warned, the result is often rising tension within society. His words were calm, but the concern behind them was unmistakable. Allowing false or misleading content to remain online, or worse, amplifying it, can quietly pour fuel on already smoldering social issues. The prince went further by drawing attention to the dangerous bridge between online speech and offline consequences. According to him, hateful or untrue comments do not simply stay on screens. They can shape attitudes, deepen fear, and sometimes push people toward harmful actions. Many listeners interpreted this as a response to the far-right anti-immigration unrest that had recently shaken parts of England and Northern Ireland. These events had not appeared out of nowhere. They followed weeks of heated online rhetoric, much of it driven by misinformation and fear-based narratives. In that context, Elon Musk's role came under scrutiny. Musk had been accused, indirectly, of contributing to the climate that allowed such tensions to grow. Critics pointed to inflammatory posts on X that targeted Muslim immigrants in the United Kingdom, arguing that such messages helped normalize hostility and suspicion. While Musk did not cause the violence himself, many felt that his hands-off approach to moderation, combined with his own provocative posts, helped create an environment where extreme views could thrive. For Prince Harry, this issue is deeply personal. His work over the years has focused heavily on mental health, online safety, and the protection of vulnerable groups. He has seen firsthand how relentless online attacks can affect individuals and families. From his perspective, free speech should never mean freedom from responsibility. Allowing lies or hateful messages to spread, especially from accounts with massive reach, is not a neutral act. It is a choice with consequences. Meghan Markle's concerns add yet another dimension to the story. While Harry often takes the lead in public advocacy, Meghan is no stranger to the darker side of online discourse. She has endured intense scrutiny, misinformation, and harassment, much of it amplified through social media. Reports of her fears surrounding Elon Musk's attacks suggest a worry that the same patterns could repeat themselves. False narratives gaining traction, public opinion being shaped by half-truths, and personal reputations becoming collateral damage in the process. For Meghan, the issue is not just about disagreement or debate, it is about safety, dignity, and the emotional toll of constant public judgment. Seeing a powerful tech figure dismiss concerns about misinformation or frame criticism as an attack on free speech may feel like a step backward, especially for someone who has experienced the real-world impact of online hostility. What makes this clash so intriguing is that it reflects a much larger global debate. On one side are those who argue that free speech must be almost absolute, even if it means allowing false or offensive ideas to circulate. On the other are voices like Prince Harry's, who believe that freedom without responsibility is dangerous, particularly in a world where a single post can reach millions within seconds. In speaking out, Harry is not trying to silence opinions. Rather, he is calling for care, truth, and accountability. He is asking powerful figures to recognize that influence is not just a privilege but a burden. Every post, every shared idea carries weight. Ignoring that fact, he suggests, only deepens the cracks already running through society. As the debate continues, one thing is clear. This is about more than two famous names disagreeing. It is about how the modern world chooses to balance freedom and responsibility, speech and truth. And in that ongoing struggle, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have made it known exactly where they stand. Apart from this revelation, have there been any cases of Elon Musk's jabs being thrown at Meghan Markle? Has there been a link between the duo? Let's delve into the details of the remark that linked Meghan to Musk. One comment: endless speculation. Some people might vaguely remember the moment a rather eyebrow-raising rumor first entered the public space back in 2022. The idea that Meghan Markle and billionaire tech mogul Elon Musk could somehow be linked romantically. At the time, it sounded almost too wild to take seriously. Still, as with many celebrity whispers, it didn't appear out of thin air. It began with a comment made half in jest, half in speculation, by someone who knows the royal world very well. The source of this moment was Tina Brown, a highly respected royal author and journalist, best known for her explosive book, The Palace Papers. Brown has spent decades studying the British monarchy, its inner workings, and the people who orbit it. When she speaks, especially in public forums, her words tend to travel far and fast. During a talk at the Henley Literary Festival in England, Brown was discussing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's life after stepping back from royal duties. By that point, the Sussexes had been out of the royal system for a while and were settling into their new life in Montecito, California, a wealthy enclave filled with celebrities, executives, and tech elites. It was a place where immense fortunes are the norm, not the exception. Brown began reflecting on the financial reality of Harry and Meghan's post-royal life. While the couple certainly weren't struggling, she pointed out that they were no longer in the same financial league as many of their neighbors. Without royal funding and privileges, their wealth simply did not compare to the billionaires and ultra-rich figures surrounding them. In Montecito, being a millionaire doesn't necessarily make you stand out. It can even make you look modest by comparison. It was within this context that Brown made a remark that would later spark headlines and speculation. Speaking casually, almost playfully, she suggested that Meghan might one day seek to upgrade her lifestyle through another high-profile marriage. The comment wasn't framed as a serious prediction, but more as a sharp, tongue-in-cheek observation about how celebrity culture often works. Then came the line that made the room react. "Elon Musk is still single," Brown said, pausing for effect. "That's all I have to say." The audience reportedly laughed, but the implication was clear and provocative. Elon Musk, one of the richest men on the planet, is known not just for his vast fortune but also for his unpredictable personality, headline-grabbing relationships, and outsized public presence. Pairing his name with Meghan Markle, one of the most talked-about women in the world, was bound to ignite imaginations. The comment was later reported by The Telegraph, and from there, it took on a life of its own. What was meant as a joke quickly transformed into online chatter, YouTube speculation, and tabloid headlines. Some readers treated it as pure satire, while others wondered if there might be more beneath the surface. After all, both Meghan and Musk share certain traits. They are media-savvy, polarizing figures who command intense public attention. They both speak often about changing the world, challenging old systems, and redefining power. To some observers, that made the idea of a connection, however unlikely, strangely fascinating. Still, there was no evidence that Meghan and Musk had ever been romantically involved, or even personally connected in any meaningful way. The rumor rested entirely on Brown's offhand remark and the public's appetite for dramatic what-if scenarios involving powerful, famous people. Yet the reason the comment landed so sharply had less to do with Musk himself and more to do with the underlying suggestion about Meghan's ambitions. Brown's words played into a long-running narrative pushed by critics that Meghan is strategic, status-driven, and always looking for a bigger platform or higher rung on the social ladder. Whether fair or not, that perception has followed her since her entry into the royal family. For supporters of Meghan, the remark felt unfair and dismissive, reducing her to a caricature of a social climber. For critics, it seemed to confirm their suspicions. Either way, the comment struck a nerve. In the end, what made the moment memorable wasn't the likelihood of a romance between Meghan Markle and Elon Musk. It was the sharpness of the implication. With just one joking sentence, Tina Brown managed to stir debate about wealth, power, image, and the price of walking away from royalty. Sometimes all it takes is a single offhand joke to light a firestorm, and in this case, that joking "yikes" lingered far longer than anyone in the room probably expected. When and how did Meghan get dragged into Andrew's scandal? Has the claim been debunked earlier? Let's dive into the details of how the viral yacht photos of Andrew and Meghan Markle have been dismissed. From fact to fiction, the moment the disgraced royal was stripped of his titles, patronages, and public privileges, a fresh wave of speculation surged across the internet. What might have remained a closed chapter in royal controversy suddenly reopened, fueled by whispers, half-truths, and recycled images. At the center of this renewed storm were rumors suggesting the existence of supposed controversial photographs linking Prince Andrew to Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. As is often the case in the digital age, fact and fiction quickly became tangled, creating a narrative that spread faster than truth could catch up. Online spaces, particularly social media platforms known for sensationalism, became fertile ground for these claims. In what many observers described as a coordinated smear campaign against Meghan, old and already discredited accusations were revived and presented as if they were new revelations. One of the most persistent labels pushed against the former actress was the term "yacht girl," a phrase commonly used online to imply involvement in questionable social circles without evidence. Despite having been debunked repeatedly in the past, the claim resurfaced with renewed force, riding on the momentum of Prince Andrew's fall from grace. As curiosity and outrage fed each other, several social media users began circulating photographs, allegedly showing Meghan Markle aboard a luxury yacht with Prince Andrew. These images, dated around 2010, were shared widely, often without context or verification. Captions were crafted to provoke suspicion, and timelines were loosely stitched together to suggest secret connections. For many casual viewers scrolling through their feeds, the images appeared convincing enough to raise doubts, especially when paired with dramatic commentary and emotionally charged language. However, a closer look at the claims reveals a very different story. Multiple reports and fact-checking efforts have clarified that the woman seen in the widely shared yacht photographs is not Meghan Markle at all. Instead, the individual in question is believed to be Alexandra Escat, a model who was active in elite social circles during that period. The resemblance, though superficial to some, became the basis for a sweeping misidentification that quickly spiraled out of control online. Once the narrative took hold, corrections struggled to gain the same level of attention as the original accusation. This pattern is not new, especially when it comes to Meghan Markle. Since her relationship with Prince Harry became public, she has remained a frequent target of online attacks, many of which rely on distorted facts or outright falsehoods. What makes this episode particularly striking is how Prince Andrew's personal scandal appeared to act as a trigger, encouraging some to retroactively link unrelated individuals and events in order to create a more dramatic story. The loss of Andrew's royal status did not just mark a personal downfall, it also reopened old wounds and provided fuel for conspiracy-driven narratives. The speed at which these rumors spread highlights a troubling reality of modern media consumption. Images, once uploaded, can be removed from their original context and repurposed endlessly. A single misleading post can be shared thousands of times within hours, often reaching far more people than later corrections ever will. In this case, the yacht photographs became visual proof for those already inclined to believe the worst, even though credible sources had long dismissed the claims attached to them. It is also worth noting that no verified evidence has ever linked Meghan Markle to Prince Andrew in the manner suggested by these rumors. Before joining the royal family, Meghan was an actress working steadily in television, with a public career that can be traced through well-documented professional engagements. Attempts to rewrite her past through speculation say more about the culture of online outrage than about her actual history. Yet, in the court of public opinion, repetition often masquerades as truth. Ultimately, the controversy surrounding these images serves as a reminder of how easily misinformation can be recycled and repackaged, especially when it involves famous names and scandal. Prince Andrew's disgrace created a vacuum that rumor eagerly filled, dragging others into the narrative without justification. While the truth, that the woman in the yacht photos is Alexandra Escat, not Meghan Markle, has been stated clearly in several reports, it competes against a louder, more sensational version of events. In the end, this episode is less about hidden photographs and more about the power of suggestion. It shows how quickly reputations can be questioned through implication alone, and how important it is to pause, verify, and think critically before accepting viral claims. What appears shocking at first glance often unravels under scrutiny, revealing not a scandal, but a story built on misidentification, rumor, and the internet's endless appetite for intrigue. But why is Meghan disturbed over Musk's revelation? Could there be severe consequences for her if it turns out to be true? How was Andrew treated over his scandal that dragged the royal family in the mud? Let's dig into the details of the end of Andrew's royal identity, when the palace drew the line. On October 30th, 2025, Buckingham Palace released a statement that sent shockwaves through Britain and far beyond its borders. In a move without modern precedent, King Charles III formally began the process of removing every remaining royal privilege held by his brother, Prince Andrew. This was not a symbolic reprimand or a quiet adjustment behind palace doors. It was a decisive and public dismantling of a royal identity that had existed since birth. The announcement confirmed that Andrew would be stripped of all royal titles, honors, and styles. Most strikingly, he would no longer be permitted to use the style Prince or the honorific His Royal Highness. These titles, which for decades had placed him among the most privileged figures in the United Kingdom, were officially withdrawn. Going forward, he would be known simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a name that marked his return to private status and severed his final formal ties to royal life. For many observers, this moment symbolized far more than the downfall of one man. It represented a clear signal from the monarchy itself that royal blood could no longer serve as a shield against accountability. The crown, long criticized for protecting its own, was now seen to be drawing a hard line between tradition and responsibility. Just days later, on November 2, 2025, the matter deepened further. In a televised interview on the BBC's Sunday with Laura Quinsberg, Defense Secretary John Healey confirmed that the UK government was taking additional steps, again on the advice of King Charles III. This time, the focus was on Andrew's remaining military honor, his ceremonial title as Vice Admiral of the Royal Navy. Healey explained that discussions were underway to formally remove Andrew from this honorary military role. Though largely symbolic, such titles carry deep historical meaning within British society, representing service, trust, and moral standing. To allow Andrew to retain a military honor, critics argued, would undermine the values the armed forces are meant to uphold. Together, these actions formed a coordinated response between the monarchy and the state, something rarely seen so clearly in modern Britain. The message was unmistakable. Andrew's conduct, associations, and the damage done to public trust could no longer be ignored or quietly managed. At the heart of these sanctions lay Andrew's long-scrutinized connection to Jeffrey Epstein, the American financier whose criminal activities and conviction as a sex offender shook global elites. Epstein's network exposed uncomfortable truths about power, wealth, and silence, and Andrew's association with him became one of the most troubling chapters in the scandal. Although Andrew consistently denied wrongdoing, the shadow of Epstein followed him relentlessly. Public outrage intensified as questions remained unanswered, interviews raised further doubts, and legal pressure mounted. What once might have been resolved behind closed doors now played out under intense global scrutiny. Central to this reckoning was Virginia Giuffre, whose allegations and pursuit of justice became a defining force in Andrew's downfall. Her case was not just a legal battle, it became a moral turning point. To many, it symbolized the voices of those who had long been ignored when powerful figures stood accused. While the legal case itself had already ended earlier through settlement, its consequences continued to ripple outward. Public opinion hardened, trust eroded, and the monarchy, already navigating an era of deep skepticism, faced a stark choice: protect one of its own, or protect its credibility. King Charles III's decision reflected a clear understanding of the moment. This was not merely about Andrew. It was about the future of the crown. By allowing these measures to proceed, Charles positioned himself as a monarch willing to confront painful realities, even when they cut close to family. For Andrew, the outcome was devastating and final. Once celebrated as a war veteran, royal representative, and son of a reigning queen, he was now reduced to a private citizen bearing a family surname, detached from royal duty, honor, and privilege. His fall marked the first time in generations that a prince had been so completely and formally removed from royal life. For the public, the episode marked a cultural shift. It suggested that status no longer guaranteed immunity, and that even the oldest institutions could be forced to change when justice and public conscience demanded it. In the end, this was more than the stripping of titles. It was the end of a royal era for one man, and a defining test for the monarchy itself. The case of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor became a lasting reminder that power, when left unchecked, can crumble, and that accountability, however late, still carries weight. So, what do you think about Elon Musk's revelation? Do you think Meghan's feelings are valid? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.